Can't see. We're good? Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Can't see any thumbs. All right, good morning. Today is Thursday, February 23rd, and this is the time and place for the regularly scheduled Nevada Gaming Commission meeting for the month of February. If you would please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, before we begin today, I would like to introduce our newest commissioner, Brian Korlicki. I want to welcome him to the commission and congratulate him on his appointment by Governor Lombardo. Commissioner Korlicki has had a career in the banking industry. He has previously served our state for many years as lieutenant governor and state treasurer, and we appreciate that he will continue to serve the citizens of the state of Nevada with us in the Nevada Gaming Commission. So welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. I also want to make a record that Commissioner Brown is out of the jurisdiction and will not be participating in today's meeting as she has been called out of the jurisdiction for, I believe, a family matter. So at this time, Madam Secretary, has our agenda been posted in accordance with the open meeting law?
Yes, it has.
So I would like to remind anyone coming to the podium to speak, we ask that you speak directly into the microphone, that you speak as clearly as possible, as this meeting is being transmitted electronically and being transcribed. So if we could, Madam Secretary, proceed with our first agenda item, public comments.
This item is placed on the agenda to give the public an opportunity to comment on gaming-related matters.
All right, so anyone who wishes to address the commission may do so at this time. Matters brought to our attention during public comment cannot be acted upon, but we are happy to hear comments of the public as well as my fellow commissioners. Comments by all will be limited to 3 minutes as a reasonable time, place, and manner restriction. If any of my fellow commissioners or myself ask questions of the public, the time needed to address those questions will not be held against those time constraints. If you have any handouts or copies of your comments to provide to the commission, please don't approach the dais with them because we will have an enforcement agent come and grab them from you. And at this time, I'm going to go to Carson City. Doesn't look like there's anyone present to make public comment. And there is not. So at this time, sir, if you could again state your name for the record.
Okay, good morning. Zachary Popple for the Culinary Union. In November, we told you about how Time Magazine included a mention of Station Casino's MUD lists of its own workers. MUD is an acronym, and these spreadsheets are used to categorize employees as management, union, or don't know, MUD. Then in public comment, we showed how station property directors use MUD lists to decide which workers to rehire during the pandemic. Our last comment showed how Station Casino's chief operating officer requested MUD lists. These MUD lists cause damage to our community and to our industry. No one in this room, no one in our community deserves to be put on a MUD list. Some of us may know the phrase, "Your name is MUD." Stations put the names of thousands of our community members on its MUD lists. How shameful. So today we want you to hear from a worker who was on a Station Casino's MUD list. But before you hear from Norma, let me say two quick things about Station's internal governance. The company's board of directors nominating and corporate governance committee is tasked with overseeing an annual evaluation of the board and management and the recommendation of improvements when necessary. We want to know whether the company's use of MUD lists has been part of an annual evaluation by the board. If the governance committee has not made this evaluation of the company's MUD list effects on employees like Norma, then is the company following its charter? And lastly, Red Rock's Code of Business Conduct and Ethics says that, quote, all members, suppliers, representatives, agents of the company must conform to ethical and legal standards, abide by the law, and preserve the company's integrity and reputation. Does the MUD list violate the company's own code? There is nothing ethical about a MUD list. A MUD list shows no integrity. A MUD list, in fact, says more about the company who made it than it does about the workers on the list. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Norma Flores. I was working at Station Casinos for 20 years. I was on the mod list. I live in Henderson for 29 years, working in Fiesta Henderson for 20 years. Station Casinos keep the Fiesta Henderson closed during the pandemic, and the property is now demolished. When I was laid off, I went to 3 fair jobs: Green Valley, Boulder Station, Palace Station. When the lady who interviewed me was excited because I applied, she say, we're looking for people with experience, and you have everything. That's what we're looking for. When she asked me about my name and my social security, she told me, I'll be right back. When she coming back, she told me, we called you back. We called you back. And I can understand why she told me that. I think I get the job. But when she told me that, I say, something's wrong. Probably I'm on the blacklist. That's what I think. And that happened the 3 times where I applied. The same thing. We called you back. We called you back. Never called me back. Never. And when I went to the last place and they told me the same thing, well, it's for sure. I am on the blacklist. I never hear anything about the mall list. Now I see the papers where I am on the mall list. And you know what? That's illegal discrimination. That's illegal. I was homeless for 2 days because I can't find place to live, because they asked me for a senior in my work, and nobody wants to give it to me apartment because I don't have years working, and I don't make that much money, like $4,000 a month. That's crazy, you know? So I sleep on my car for 2 days. And let me tell you something, it's the worst things that happened to me, only because the station casinos got me in the mall list, and I can get better job, I can do anything, you know? And if somebody can explain to me why I got my name on the mall list, probably nobody can explain to me. I was working for Fiesta Henderson for 20 years. I worked so hard. In 20 years, I get 2 times vacation. Never call sick, never call out. I do the best over there. And they got me in the mall list only because I fight for the rights for the employees. That's not right. That's not right. Somebody have to help me and do something, because we need help. It's not only me, it's a lot of co-workers in the same situation. And demolish the place when everybody's waiting for work. That's incredible, you know? I can't believe they do that. And they're trying to open another place, another big place. Why they want to open another place if they don't finish with us? Never finish with us. One letter, terminate. That's not enough. It's not enough. My life have a lot of bad things only because I lose my job. We don't have anything. We don't have anything,
Norma,
only the job.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but remember we talked about the limit at the beginning?
Yes, I'm sorry.
I let you go a minute and a half
Okay,
because
I'm sorry. But somebody have to help me. That's illegal discrimination,
Okay,
what they're
thank
doing
you.
with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Give this to-
I have copies.
Yes, perfect. Can you hand those over?
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else present that wishes to make public comment? Thank you. That wasn't me. To the time. All right. It appears there's no one else present to make public comment, so that will close our public comment section. And as far as our next item on our agenda, we need to consider approval of the prior month's disposition.
Pursuant to NRS 241.035, this item is the consideration of the approval of the Nevada Gaming Commission disposition for January 2023.
Okay, each of us, I don't know, Commissioner Curlick, you weren't here, so perhaps if
Madam Chair, if you still have a quorum and no issue, I would like to recuse from or abstain from voting on this since I was not.
we do have a quorum. So at this time, thank you. We've each had the opportunity to review the disposition. If there are no questions or comments, I think it's in proper form for a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would move for approval of the prior month's disposition.
All right, any discussion between the three of us? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And there are none opposed, and the record should reflect that Commissioner Korlicki abstained from consideration of that approval of the prior month's disposition. Madam Secretary, please read in the restricted consent items.
Your items on the restricted consent agenda this morning are items 5 through 12. Recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval with conditions as noted on the agenda.
Okay. Have we all had an opportunity to review the items? Is there any comment or questions of any of my colleagues? All right, there being none, I believe this is also in proper form for a motion at this time.
Madam Chair, I would move for approval of the consent agenda items 5 through 12 for restricted as recommended by the Gaming Control Board.
Any discussion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And there are none opposed. Thank you. Moving on to non-restricted items held out for discussion. Madam Secretary, if you could please read in non-restricted number 1.
Non-restricted number 1 is the application of Entain PLC for an amendment to their order of registration. It is also the applications of GVC Holdings USA, Robert Hoskin, Yetta Nygaard Anderson, and Robert Wood for finding of suitability and/or licensure as a manager, key executive, and/or officer as noted on the agenda. The applications of Joseph Simon for finding of suitability as an officer and for licensure as a key executive as noted on the agenda have been continued to a future meeting. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval.
Okay.
Good morning, Chair
Good morning.
Tagliati, Commissioners, Madam Secretary. For the record, I am Erica Okerberg, outside Nevada Gaming Counsel to the company. Here with me today are Yetta Nygaard Anderson, the Chief Executive Officer, Rob Hoskin, the Chief Governance Officer, and Simon Zinger, the Group General Counsel. We would like to thank you for waiving the appearance of Rob Wood. Mr. Wood has previously appeared before and been licensed by the Board and Commission, and there were no areas of concern or issues with his investigation. As Madam Secretary noted, Mr. Simon had intended to be here today, but unfortunately had a medical issue arise and was unable to travel. We would note for the sake of the record, of course, that we will work with the board to reschedule his appearance and would waive the 120-day rule in NRS 463.220.
Thank you.
Also present today from the Carson City office is Scott Shearer. He is BetMGM's outside Nevada Gaming Counsel. He doesn't plan to provide any remarks, but is here just in an abundance of caution in case the commissioners had questions specific for BetMGM given the agenda items. We have distributed a slide deck for you, which we ask to be treated as confidential and not be made part of the public record. We understand that the commissioners have had an opportunity either to watch the board meeting or to review the transcripts. So we would plan to give an abbreviated presentation for you today, if that's acceptable.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. As to the applications before you, we have a couple of categories, the first of which is first-time applicants. Ms. Nygaard Anderson is one. And we also have some cleanup applications as a result of Entain's ownership of BetMGM, which is 50%. If there are any questions on the applications or the technical aspects, I'm happy to answer those.
Didn't have any questions?
Madam Chair, I don't have a question. I just have a comment to make. I didn't know Mr. Scherer was part of your legal team. Mr. Scherer served as my personal counsel once upon a time, and I have the highest regard for him. It's not going to impair my judgment on the matter, but I just wanted to put on the record that Mr. Scherer and I are well acquainted.
Thank you. With that, then we will turn to the company presentation. First, Ms. Nygaard Anderson will come up and give you an overview of the company strategy and DE&I efforts. And then Mr. Hoskin will speak with you briefly about sustainability and licensing. And then last but not least, Mr. Zinger will come up to address a few key points regarding the British Gambling Commission settlement.
Thank you.
So with that, we'll turn to the slide deck and I'll ask Ms. Nygaard Anderson to come up.
Good morning, Chair Togliatti and Commissioners. My name is Jette Nygaard Andersen, and I am the Chief Executive Officer of Entain PLC. And I'm also a director of BetMGM, our 50/50 joint venture with MGM Resorts International. And thank you for the opportunity to presenting this morning. In my short presentation, I'll touch upon a few highlights from our business, but I'm of course happy to answer any questions. So if I can ask you to turn to slide 2 in the deck. So Entain is a global leading sports betting and gaming group with years of experience. We generate around $5 billion annually in net gaming revenues, and we're listed at the London Stock Exchange, and we're one of the 50 largest companies there in terms of market capitalization. Our focus is to operate only in markets where we have or can obtain domestic licenses. We are a highly diversified business, and in fact, we are the global operator with the most diversified domestically licensed operations. And much of our global growth has been achieved via successful M&A. Another differentiator is what we call our platform, that constitutes of all our capabilities, but of course our technology. And here we own and control our technology that supports both our online businesses as well as our retail operation. If I can ask you to turn to page 3, this is our strategy in one page, and our strategy puts growth and sustainability on an equal footing. We focus on providing safe and trusted entertainment platform for our customers, and our customers are put front and center in our business and in terms of the decisions that we take. Since I became a CEO, we have been on a deliberate mission to transform the company, as 2 years ago we launched our new strategy. Now, I believe that the most sustainable company in our industry will be the most successful. And part of being a sustainable business is being a responsible gaming operator and caring for our customers as well as our people. We work closely with regulators across the world and are a strong supporter of good regulation. We've also invested significant resources into player protection. We mentioned later on in our presentation our in-house developed ARC technology, which use predictive models, AI, and are working in real time to protect our customers. And we understand that we play an important role in societies and in the communities in which we operate. And therefore, we have a long list of activities through our foundation. If I can ask you to turn now to page 4. So promoting diversity, equality, and inclusion at Entain, but in general, of course, is very important to myself and Entain. I want all of our 29,000 colleagues to feel that Entain is a safe place to work, and it's also a place where they can thrive. As one of only 6 female CEOs in the top 100 companies in the UK, I know I have a platform from which I can drive change around DE&I. And I'm proud that nearly half of our employees are women. 1/3 of our technology colleagues are women, which is significant more than anywhere else. And at a board level, 1/3 are women, and we have multiple nationalities on the board, including 2 Americans with industry experience. And the same goes for our executive committee. Lastly, if I can ask you to turn to page 5.
So our push for diversity, equality, and inclusion will never stop. But on this page, you see some of our initiatives within the Entain Group. And the latest being our returnship program, which we launched recently with McLaren Racing Formula One, to bring women, especially with STEM backgrounds, back into the workplace. And we have similar programs in India and the Philippines called Reboot. And in addition, of course, our foundation supports a wide range of diversity projects around the world. Here in Nevada, we are, for instance, part of the UNLV's Blackfire project, supporting innovative and diversity-focused projects. I'll stop here, but I'm happy to take any questions before I will hand over to my colleague, Rob Hoskin, to talk about sustainability and licensing.
Well, we appreciate your comments and certainly appreciate that you have been here now for the second time, prepared to answer our questions. And I would open it up for any questions anyone may have. All right, I think we don't have any additional questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Togliatti and Commissioners. I am Robert Hoskin, Entain's Chief Governance Officer. I'd like to provide a brief overview of our sustainability and regulatory licensing initiatives, beginning with slide 6. So on slide 6, we've set out our sustainability charter, a central limb to Entain strategy. Under this charter, we have 4 columns, the first being regulation, under which we've committed to only doing business in markets where we have a domestic license, and I'll pick up on this shortly. The second column is responsibility and adopting a scientific approach to responsible gambling. Here we've rolled out our industry pioneering Advanced Responsibility and Care Program, or ARC for short. We built 26 player protection modules coupled with AI and BI tools, which monitor individual player behavior in real time on our platform. Where a player's risk profile starts to trend outside of its normal parameters, this triggers a number of responses from Entain to the player, which allow us to disrupt this trend and steer the player back to their normal risk characteristics. We've also tied part of our annual bonus plan to delivering on responsible gambling targets. The third limb relates to ensuring Entain has best-in-class corporate governance, which has resulted in a strengthened board and enhanced processes and controls. And finally, the fourth limb is people and communities, under which we aim to make Entain the best place to work and reduce our environmental impact, with the aim of reaching a net zero carbon position by 2035. We're also investing $124 million over a 5-year period into responsible gambling projects and supporting community initiatives wherever we have a footprint. Turning to slide 7, as mentioned, Entain is focused on only doing business in countries where it has a local license. This slide shows 32 countries in which we are licensed, including the United States, where we have multiple state licenses. I'm happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I'll turn to Mr. Zinger to direct your attention to a few points on the British Gambling Commission regulatory settlement.
Please do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Togliatti. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Simon Zinger. I'm Entain's General Counsel. I joined the company 2 years ago. Following the comprehensive discussion on this topic before the board, I would like to focus on just a few key points this morning related to the settlement with the British Gambling Commission, and then obviously be available for questions. If you turn to page 9 of the slide pack, please, you'll see a description of what we spoke with the board about in relation to the regulatory landscape. The GC, the Gambling Commission, has been especially active with issuing enforcement actions against gaming operators. In recent years, there has been a significant focus as well on affordability and customer diligence. Specifically, licensees operate under the Gambling Act, which became law in 2005 via a series of licensing conditions and guidelines. These are supplemented from time to time by lessons learned from enforcement actions by the Gambling Commission against licensees, which sometimes comes with changes in guidance and interpretation. In advance of updating the Gambling Act, a white paper has been expected to clarify the direction of travel for future regulation. The white paper has been expected for more than a year now, but has not yet been issued. The Gambling Commission remains very active in enforcement proceedings, in sharing their evolving interpretation. And we, in turn, are making efforts to not only be compliant, but also to work with them constructively, cooperatively, and transparently. We have made many refinements to our approach and continue to do so from both a process and technology perspective, and we are sharing these improvements with the Gambling Commission. Slide 10 in the back is an overview of the regulatory settlement terms that we agreed. And if you turn to slide 11, you will see a summary of the remedial actions that Entain has taken. As noted at the board meeting, Entain implemented these measures and remedied its policies and procedures well ahead of the settlement being agreed and concluded. Thank you for your attention. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. At this time, Commissioner Cohen.
Thank you, Chair. Welcome, Mr. Zinger.
Thank you.
Needless to say, the relative amount of the regulatory settlements in the UK are troublesome. And likewise, your response to that are welcome. What I'd like to know is, has any of those issues pertaining to the UK Gaming Commission and the violations that were found, have they leaked into changes across your properties in the United States and the way you do business?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner Cohen. So in terms of the United States, that would be a question that would need to be examined in relation to BetMGM. So as far as specific actions regarding, for example, player affordability, the diligence of KYC, the enhanced reviews of players in terms of how we interact with them, that is a very specific issue related to how the Gambling Commission in the UK expects operators to act. And then obviously BetMGM, and Mr. Scherer can address this in more detail, BetMGM is fully conscious of its obligations in relation to the state laws under which it operates. I would say there is a sharing of best practice. There are quite a few common interactions between our compliance committees, our legal teams, our compliance teams, our operational teams, our customer service teams, and the teams that also work on the BetMGM business. So from that perspective, I think we're quite good at sharing best practices and requirements. But what we see here in terms of the remedial actions taken, I would say are very specific to the regulatory context and environment as a UK-based operator.
If I could just add to that, Commissioner Cohen, as Mr. Zinger was explaining, in the US, Entain typically does not actually operate sports wagering like it does in the UK. It works through its joint venture partner, BetMGM. And so BetMGM is the operator in the United States for purposes, or in Nevada, it's MGM is their parallel partner. So that's the reason for the distinction between the approach and why they're talking about sharing best practices.
I agree. And maybe, I should ask Mr. Scherer this. I just want to make sure that for purposes of what we're talking about today, is that the issues that pertain here could easily pop up into properties, jurisdictions throughout the United States. And I just want to make sure that the company, Entain / MGM, in its 50-50 joint venture, are being proactive, say, whoa, let's make sure we shore up, anti-money laundering. Let's make sure we, know your customer. Because the things, and I realize that the UK, because we see it a lot come before us, lately. These very large fines that have been levied by the UK. I just want to make sure. So, Mr. Sheriff, could you shed some light on that? Being the proactive with MGM.
Certainly. So BetMGM, as you noted, is a joint venture between Entain and MGM. BetMGM, and for the record, I'm sorry, for the record, Scott Shearer of Brownstein Hyatt, Farber Schreck, appearing on behalf of BetMGM. So BetMGM is a joint venture in the U.S. Of course, MGM has its other joint venture partner has a very robust responsible gaming program. They use the GameSense program. And BetMGM has modeled its responsible gaming efforts on those of MGM. And so it has the GameSense program that it has implemented. It's the KYC programs, the AML programs. So it has a robust and growing, obviously BetMGM is a growing joint venture, growing operator. So those staffs are growing. But they certainly look at what Entain has done as well, and try to look at what the best practices are and what might work best in the U.S. markets and meet the requirements of the U.S. regulators. So, but for the most part, they're based primarily upon the program that MGM has in place, which is the GameSense program.
Thank you, Mr. Sheriff.
And Commissioner Cohen, Simon Zinger again for the record. Maybe just one more example. BetMGM has quite a robust compliance committee and a group of people, and it's been growing that effort. We on the Entain side have representatives that feed into that committee. So it's a constant dialogue in terms of what people are learning, what people are seeing, and where people can make improvements.
That's critical. I appreciate that comment.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions or comments?
I don't have any questions. I appreciate the actions that you've taken and the transparency and communicating those efforts to our partners on the control side.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Korlicki?
Madam Chair, welcome to our room here in Las Vegas. Thank you for the presentation, and I appreciate the updated material, because certainly we were looking at things that was still not certain, but what you've provided today and this information so your settlement with the British Gambling Commission is concluded. There's no longer an outstanding issue. It's finalized, and that's what you've given us today.
That's right, Commissioner. We have one outstanding element. You'll see in the description on page 10 of the agreed sanctions. There is one additional element, and that's the independent audit that is still taking place, and it's taking place as we speak. And for that, we'll need to assess the results once that audit is finished and discuss it again with the Gambling Commission to share what was found.
And we'll be the second to know.
That's right.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for that confirmation. Appreciate your response.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm partially kidding and partially not kidding. So, I would echo the comments of my fellow commissioners. I think the issue's been vetted by both the board and us. So at this time, I don't have any additional questions other than whatever you have left in your deck and your presentation.
We don't have any further affirmative presentation. We would just request approval as recommended by the Gaming Control Board.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? I don't know. Okay. So as far as any additional questions, I don't believe there are any. And so at this time, I'll look to one of my colleagues.
I would move for approval of non-restricted agenda item number 1 is read into the record by Madam Secretary and is recommended for approval by the Gaming Control Board.
Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. And there are none opposed. Thank you very much. We appreciate your appearances today. All right, Madam Secretary, please read in non-restricted number 3.
Non-restricted number 3 is the application of Olympia LB LLC for a transfer of interest as noted on the agenda. It is also the applications of Robin Nedza, Gary Goet, and Jeffrey Canarelli for licensure as a manager or member as noted on the agenda. It is also the application by Mint Casino Inc. doing business as Legends Bay Casino to convert to an LLC to be known as Mint Casino LLC doing business as Legends Bay Casino, and to add, remove, or modify conditions to a license. Finally, you have the applications of Legends Gaming Partners LLC, Gary Goet, DeCourcy Graham Jr., Robin Nedza, and Courtney Cardinal for licensure as a 100% manager, member, key executive, and/or key employee of Mint Casino LLC. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval with conditions as noted on the agenda.
Good morning.
Good morning. Dennis Gutwald with the law firm of McDonald Toronto. With me is Robin Nedza of Olympia Group. This application is one of a transfer of interest to an employee with a lot of years of service, and then some housekeeping matters and the conversion of an LLC. There isn't much to present today, so with your permission, I'll just open it up for questions. You guys can ask Robin and date and all that.
Thank you. At this time, I will defer to my fellow commissioners if they have any questions.
The application is actually pretty straightforward for me. First of all, thank you for being here. Ms. Nedza, I was just hoping that you could give us an update on how the property is doing. It's been open about 6 months now.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Yes, and it's hard to believe it's been almost 6 months already. Well, we had an incredible opening, just absolutely overwhelming. So the first 30, 45 days or so, we experienced a lot of initial look from the community, a lot of support, very heavy positive feedback on our slot mix, our gaming mix, our customer service, the amenities. It's been pretty positive. Didn't even really turn on the marketing button until 6 or so weeks in. And since then, it's been a combination of continuing to try to grow our database and our customer loyalty while continuing to train our staff and finalize and kind of back down operations, performance, internal controls, and whatnot. So still work to do. We're not done. We've made a few staffing changes, which I think are altogether in the positive long term. Although I will say that the Northern Nevada labor market remains still pretty strong and competitive. So that's a little bit of a challenge, I think, for all employers in the area. A good problem to have if you're employed in the industry. But altogether, it's been a very exciting project.
Good. Yeah, one of the things I was curious about was staffing. I knew the labor market had been problematic, and some of our Northern Nevada licensees, just as Southern Nevada licensees have experienced, have had a problem keeping the positions filled and, getting the positions, especially in certain areas like LA and, housekeeping and such.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a battle. I will give so much credit, though, to the team up there. Everyone has been willing to fill in and modify and adjust and cover where needed, which to me shows a lot of positive attitude and willing to be part of the team and pitch in. So yes, those challenges are not done. We're certainly not alone in that, and we're working through them.
Great. All right. Well, thank you for that update. I, expected that you'd have huge success. I mean, it was a beautiful property, and anytime a new property opens, there's a lot of community excitement. But I'm happy to hear that excitement's continuing and that you're capitalizing on it with additional marketing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Krolicki?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And welcome. Thank you for being in front of us today. It is straightforward, so no question, just an observation. As a new commissioner, I'm also someone who lives north of Clark County, and I was just around your property, Sparks, last week. And it's a lovely place. Just it's exciting what's going on, and I'll call it the neighborhood, but I think we all remember the Helms Pit once upon a time. But what's happened and the other opportunities and shopping, dining, it's just been wonderful to watch, and congratulations on being part.
Thank you, Commissioner. That's very kind.
Do you have anything additional, Commissioner Cohen?
I have nothing. I think it's great what you've done up there. I was so impressed to hear about literally the traffic problems on your opening.
Well, that was not just us, by the way, but there were some improvements going along Interstate 80 and Sparks Boulevard at the same time, coincidentally, but we worked through them.
And I have no issues regarding the cleanup of the application or the conversion from LLC, to I'm good.
Neither do I. I think it's all very straightforward. I absolutely appreciate your appearance today, and based upon everything that we have here, I think it's ripe for a motion.
Madam Chair, I'm happy to make a motion for approval of non-restricted item number 3 as read into the record by Madam Secretary and recommended by the Gaming Control Board,
The condition.
with the conditions recommended by the Gaming Control Board.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And there are none opposed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
It's snowing up there today.
Yeah.
And more into next week. I'm already bored.
All right, Madam Secretary, please read in non-restricted number 4.
Non-restricted number 4, the applications of David Samber, Monta Ozalina, and Robert Brimmer Jr. for finding of suitability and/or licensure as a managing member, manager, and/or key executive as noted on the agenda. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval. I believe we have a disclosure on this item.
We do. Thank you, Madam Secretary. With respect to non-restricted item number 4, I'd like to disclose that I'm a partner in Morris Law Group. My firm and I represented Apollo Global Management, Inc. and other Apollo-related entities that are not parties to this application and unrelated litigation, which is now concluded. I have no pecuniary interest in the item before us, nor do I believe the independence or judgment of a reasonable person in my situation would be materially affected by this prior representation. Therefore, I intend to participate and vote on this matter.
All right, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Tagliati, members of the Commission, Madam Secretary. Welcome and congratulations on your appointment, Commissioner Kralicki. Sonia Vermees from the law firm Brownstein Hyatt Farber Schreck. I'm here this morning on 3 individual suitability applications. These individuals all hold positions with the Venetian Group. The first is David Samber. His day job is as co-lead partner of private equity with Apollo Global Management, Inc. But he does hold the position in connection with Venetian as the sole managing member of Pioneer VoteCo LLC. He is also on the board of managers of Pioneer Topco GP LLC. Thank you for waiving his appearance this morning. He has been licensed before in connection with his positions with Caesars and AGS, and he's appeared before both the board and the commission. There were no areas of interest or concern with his application. The second individual on your agenda is Monta Ozalina. She is a principal private equity with Apollo. She also holds a position on the board of managers with Pioneer Topco GP LLC, and she is on all 3 of the board committees. And then our last applicant, who is also here this morning, is Robert Brimmer. He's the Chief Financial Officer for Venetian Las Vegas LLC and all of its registered holding companies. And with that, I'll let the other individuals come up.
Thank you.
Whichever first at your leisure.
Oh, all right.
If that works, exactly. Good morning, commissioners, Madam Secretary. Monta Ozalina with Apollo. Just briefly on my background, as of course discussed with the board, I was born and raised in Riga, Latvia, in Northern Europe. I moved originally to the United States to attend university at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. After that, I worked in investment banking for a number of years between New York and London. After that, joining Apollo, where I am a principal in the private equity group. I'm part of the core team overseeing the Apollo managed funds investment into the Venetian day to day. And today, in fact, is the 1-year anniversary of the closing of our investment, of our funds investment into the Venetian. As you know, it has been a tremendous success over this past year, which is truly due to the dedication of our team members as well as our world-class management team. Maybe a quick highlight from the last year was being part of the all team member town hall in December, right ahead of the holidays, as we were celebrating the last successful year and making our first distribution on the Venetian Appreciation Award at Heart of House, commonly known as the Red Coins program, which is obviously a broad-based incentive program where all full-time team members participate. Hopefully the first of many distributions to come. I think that was probably all that's worth your time. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. I'll open it up for any questions that anybody may have. I think at the board meeting, there was some elaboration on the program. And I think you said something about taking credit for it. Um, and so I don't think we need to go any further into that unless anybody else wishes to. So we appreciate being here today. I don't have any questions or concerns about your application and your background, and I support it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Tagliati and Commissioners. My name is Robert Brimmer. I'm CFO of the Venetian entity, and I'm happy to be here with you this morning. I know I gave my background to your colleagues at the board a few weeks ago, so I'll be brief in my remarks today, but I'll give you a brief overview of how I got to the position I'm in. My wife and I moved to this community 15 years ago. We had the goal of getting out of Chicago winters and enjoying ourselves for a couple of years. And remarkably, we're still here 15 years later and happy to be where we're at with a family and a great role here with the Venetian. My background, I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Iowa. I went to college at Northwestern, where I received a double major in engineering and economics. After that, I was an associate with LEK Consulting for several years before going back to business school, which turned out to be a very good decision for me. I met my wife there. Harrah's Entertainment at the time had a emphasis on recruiting MBAs into their organization. So I came into the industry and into Harrah's through that program, and had the privilege of working for 3 separate CFOs during my time at Caesars, all of which were great mentors for me and showed me what it meant to be a CFO. During my time there, I oversaw corporate planning, corporate finance, a lot of our development activities and inorganic growth activities, and ultimately exited Caesars when Eldorado bought the business about 3 years ago. I was brought in by Apollo to help them analyze the Venetian investment during the due diligence phase and had the opportunity to join with the company as CFO exactly 1 year ago. As Monta mentioned, we're really thrilled with how the business is performing so far. Financially, it's excellent, but we continue to invest in the culture and team members and physically into the asset to create more opportunities, more revenue, more jobs, all of which we think is the right formula to increase business value, which, as Monta mentioned, all of our team members full-time team members will participate in. With that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Thank you and welcome. Thank you for being here. I actually don't have any questions about your background, which is impeccable. I do want to know the secret of getting somebody back from Chicago. My son seems to have settled there. So.
Well, I don't know that I could go back that direction. My blood has gotten a lot thinner after being out here for 15 years. So he'll probably come back.
All right. Thank you.
You have anything?
Nothing. Very, your application is impeccable. And, I have no issues whatsoever.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. No additional questions. We appreciate your appearance here today. Okay, so is there anything else by any members of the commission or council?
No final remarks from me. Thank you.
All right, this time it appears that it's proper form for a motion.
Madam Secretary, I'm happy to move for the approval of non-restricted item number 4 as read into the record by Madam Secretary and recommended by the Gaming Control.
Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor say aye.
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 And there are none opposed. Thank you very much. Madam Secretary, if you could please read in non-restricted number 5.
Non-restricted number 5 is the application of Full House Resorts, Inc. for a continuous or delayed public offering. It is also the application of Stockman's Casino to guarantee securities and hypothecate assets in conjunction with a continuous or delayed public offering. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Tagliati, Commissioners, Madam Secretary. For the record, Sean McGinnis with Butler Snow. On behalf of Full House Resorts, with me to my right is Louis Fanger, Full House's Chief Financial Officer. I could just give a little background. This is a shelf renewal. What's on the application would be Full House's 5th shelf order. It's a renewal of their shelf order. They first got one in 2011, got another one in 2014, renewed in 2017, renewed in 2020, and the 3-year period is up this month, and we're here with that. Just for the record, Full House qualifies under Reg 16 because it's publicly traded on the NASDAQ exchange, and it has more than 10 times the minimum share of stockholder equity required in Reg 16. It has actually around a little north of $100 million in stockholder equity. So they qualify under the reg. The shelf order, the draft one is an acceptable form, and I thought I would turn it over to Lewis to give a little update on the company, and then we could respond to any questions you may have.
Sure, and that's draft one, January 5th, correct?
Correct,
23?
yeah. It's the only one we've had, so,
Right.
so we're good.
All right, so
Good morning.
welcome.
Thank you. We actually took advantage of this, the current shelf in the 2 weeks since I was in front of the board and today. So thank you for that. It's been extremely useful for us. And I think sometimes I even forget how volatile the markets can get. And over the past 3 years, especially, there have been days when one day you can go out and access the markets and then it's closed for 6 months and you're kind of scratching your head hoping for the world to come back. And so this shelf has been especially helpful to us. So thank you for that.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Commissioner Krolicki?
No questions, just really observations. And you have such an impressive balance sheet. So congratulations on that. The shelf is a great tool. And I was going to ask if you've used it. And yes, you have. Have you used it previously before this last opportunity?
This current round, I think we used it 3 times, and we've used it every time since I've been at the company. I started as CFO back in 2015, so I know we've used it at least every of the 3-year shelves. We've used it at least once.
No, again, it's a great tool. Good on you for taking advantage of it, and I'm fully supportive, and I don't have any questions.
If I could, just for the record, just since the time of the board meeting to here, we've been in regular communication with Special Agent David Mueller, who's also been communicating with Deputy Chief Teggio and Corporate Securities, just to make sure the Gaming Control Board staff has been up to date on this effort for this most recent draw on the shelf that was done. So just so that it's clear that we were communicative with staff.
Thank you. Anybody else have any additional questions or comments?
Just you've checked all the boxes for the regulatory approvals necessary to grant this. And so I'm certainly in favor of this application. Thank you.
Yes, it's straightforward. So at this time, it appears it's ripe for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move for approval of non-restricted item number 5 as read into the record by Madam Secretary and is recommended by the Gaming Control Board pursuant to the first draft dated January 5th, 2023.
Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And there are none opposed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Secretary, that brings us to, I believe, non-restricted number 6.
Non-restricted number 6 is the application of Michael Ellis for finding of suitability and or licensure as an officer as noted on the agenda. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval.
Hello, Madam Secretary, Commissioners Solis, Rainey, Cohen, Brown, Krolicki, and Chair Tagliani. I'm Greg Givniani from the law firm of Dickinson Wright, here with the applicant Matthew Ellis, who's applying for a finding of suitability as an officer for Excel Entertainment, finding of suitability for an officer of Century Gaming, and a license as an officer of United Coin. With me also is Derek Harmer, General Counsel and Chief Compliance Officer for Excel, and the applicant Matthew Ellis. At this time, I'd like to have Matt provide a quick overview of his background and his role in the company.
Thank you.
Morning, Chair Tagliati, Commissioners, Madam Secretary. I'm Matthew Ellis, Chief Financial Officer of Excel, and I have been in that role since May of 2022. My background begins, I went to the University of Michigan, where I studied undergrad and my master's. I got my undergrad in economics and then stayed to get my master's in accounting. Would probably be worth mentioning, as Member Watkins and I discussed, was relatively a rough time for Michigan athletics with respect to Michigan State. From there, I did go to start public accounting at Deloitte and then moved through a couple financial and operational roles, including some time in Excel. I came back to Excel in 2019 to help the company go public. And then that later led to my promotion as CFO last year. That covers a real short background. I guess the only other thing to mention, father to 2 young daughters, as someone who grew up with only brothers and boy cousins, it's been a little bit of foreign territory, but they are the love of my life. And that's been a great experience as well. Happy to take any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Cohen, do you have any questions?
Another clean application. I have no questions.
Commissioners Krolicki or Solus Rainey?
I don't have any questions for you either. Your background is very clean.
Madam Chair, I also don't prepare to make a motion, try to, get into the groove of motion making here. But if you're
Okay.
prepared to receive it.
I certainly am. Thank you.
I'm a father of 3 daughters, so I'm still ahead of you in the
I
spirit
might
of.
get there, but we're not sure yet. I might call for advice if that happens.
We didn't find out until Mother Nature revealed her hand. But I will move for approval of non-restricted agenda item number 6. It's read into the record by Madam Secretary and is recommended for approval by the Gaming Control Board. What I do?
Perfect.
Yay.
Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And there are none opposed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Secretary, please read in non-restricted number 7.
Non-restricted number 7 is the application of Daniel Grosbeck for finding of suitability and/or licensure as a key employee as noted on the agenda. Recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval.
Good morning from Carson City.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Tagliati, members of the commission, Executive Secretary Rupert. For the record, I'm Michael Alonso, and I'm here on behalf of Golden Entertainment. Before I introduce Mr. Grosbeck, Chair Tagliati, I would like to take this moment to thank you for permitting me to appear from Carson City. Phyllis Gillen, the General Counsel for Golden Entertainment, was called away on another matter today and asked me to fill in, so we both appreciate the accommodation very much. I would also
Certainly.
like to take a moment to congratulate Commissioner Krolicki on his appointment to the commission and welcome him, and I look forward to working with you, Commissioner. It's always nice to see you. With that, down in Las Vegas with you is the applicant Daniel Grosbeck, who is the Vice President of Nevada Distributed Gaming Operations for Golden Entertainment. That title encompasses all of the tavern businesses under Golden Entertainment, as well as the slot route operation business. With your permission, Chair Tagliati, I will ask Mr. Grosbeck to introduce himself and provide his background, and then we'll be willing to answer any questions that the commissioners may have.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. For the record, my name is Dan Grosbeck. I am the Vice President of Nevada Gaming for Distributed Gaming for Golden Entertainment. To give you a brief synopsis of my background, I moved here from Missouri in 2004. I spent about 12 years on the Strip between the Venetian and MGM Grand in multiple facets of management as well. I made the move to Golden Entertainment in 2016, where I took some professional steps back to learn the company from the ground up. Since then, I have since moved through being a GM of a tavern to a regional manager to the director of operations, all the way through vice president, where I am now, the position that I've held since January of last year. Through that, I do have a team on the route side, senior management team of about 13 to 14 individuals spread throughout the state, which I speak to on a daily basis as well. I do make routine trips up to Reno to check out truck stops, go down the I-80 and check out with our other route partners as well. As far as the tavern business, I oversee 64 taverns throughout the state as well. I have a senior management team of about 15 individuals, 8 of whom who are currently or in the process of getting a license as well, in which we communicate also on a daily basis. So with that being said, I'd like to open it up for any questions that you may have.
Do any of my fellow commissioners have any questions?
I have no questions. Another very clean application, and I'm prepared to support it.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So I've had the opportunity to, obviously read the transcript from the last hearing that you had. in light of all the investigative materials that I've been presented and the commentary at both that hearing and the board hearing this month and today, um, I agree with the board that that I think that there's assurances in place that, you know, don't require any restrictions at this point. And so I'm going to support your license. Anybody else wish to make any comments?
I'm also someone from Missouri. I'm a St. Louis. You're from Mexico?
I
Missouri?
was born in Mexico, yes.
I'm a St. Louis kind of guy. Are
So
you
am I, yes.
high school?
Cape Girardeau, Missouri.
Okay.
Yep, sorry.
That's not as Missouri, it's all about high school. It's not about college. I just want to applaud you. You've had a interesting set of experiences and you have demonstrated great strength to overcome some of those situations, and just good on you and where we are today as far as materials in front of us. I'm wonderfully comfortable. Support Show Me guy from Missouri.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, at this time then, it appears that this matter is ripe for a motion. Commissioner Cohen?
Thank you, Chair. I move for approval of non-restricted agenda item number 7 is read into the record by Madam Secretary.
All right, any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And there are none opposed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, at this time, Madam Secretary, that brings us to our restricted items. And I don't believe we have any on consent, so we have restricted items held out for discussion.
Restricted number 1 is the application of Best Bet Products, Inc., doing business at Coyote Corner for a restricted gaming license, and the application for licensure of Coyote Stations, Inc. to receive a percentage of gaming revenue from Best Bet Products, Inc., doing business at Coyote Corner. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval with conditions as noted on the agenda.
Good morning. How are you?
Great, thank you. Been a little under the weather. I'm sorry, my voice isn't very good right now.
No problem.
I'm Wendy Black. I'm Coyote Stations, Inc.
Thank you for being here today. So we have all, we're all familiar with your presentation and discussion with the board earlier this month, and we have your investigation materials from the control division. So perhaps if you have anything you'd want to add or comment on.
It's all pretty much what you guys have already seen from them. We talked about the fact that the key employee kind of slipped through the cracks, and we had that fixed. We've already applied for a new key employee, and I'm very well aware that if something happens again, that I have to come down immediately and do something about it.
Okay.
Which I will do.
All right, and so you know why they left that condition in place, since you had that key employee?
Well, I
hopper?
think the original reason why they did that is because I had a location in Vegas, and I had just moved out to Pahrump at this other location, and I'm sure that they were looking at it for supervision. So, and that's why they did the key employee. But since then, I'm really sorry.
It's okay.
Since then, we've sold the Las Vegas location, and we've moved them all out to Pahrump. So there's not an issue with that because I'll be there all the time now.
Okay. Well, do any of my fellow colleagues have any questions that you wish to pose to Ms. Black? Okay, well, we appreciate your appearance today, and I think you've answered all of the questions about the omission and the misstep. And I think we're all satisfied with that explanation and your understanding now of what's required going forward. So at this time, I think the matter is ripe for a motion.
Madam Chair, I'm pleased to make the motion. So on restricted item number 1, read by Madam Secretary, I would move to approve the recommendation of approval by the Gaming Control Board with the condition. Should I read the condition or? It's just clear that it's in the record.
Usually, I think it's as recommended, or the
It
conditions
is
as recommended by the
that
board.
condition included by the Game Control Board.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And there are none opposed. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, that brings us, Madam Secretary, to restricted number 2.
Restricted number 2 is the application of Kevin Lead for temporary licensure as a personal representative as noted on the agenda. It is also the application of Leads Incorporated for dispositions of securities as noted on the agenda and for transfers of interest as noted on the agenda. Finally, you have the application by Kevin Michael Lead to pledge his shareholder interest in Leads Incorporated to Janet Arlene Wells in conjunction with a promissory note. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval with conditions as noted on the agenda.
Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair Tagliati and members of the commission and Executive Secretary Rupert. Thank you very much for accommodation. Allow us to appear from Carson City. We also have Janet Lead on Zoom to be patched in, I believe, if necessary, or if that's going to happen. My name is Chris McKenzie, the law firm of Alice McKenzie here in Carson City. And we're here before you based on the applications you've seen. If you've seen our presentation at the Gaming Control Board, you understand it's kind of a family affair, and the net effect will Mr. Lead being the sole shareholder, and his sister Janet, who you see now on the screen, who's here, is going to have a security interest in treasury shares that are held by the corporation. So with that, if you had any questions for us, we're available.
I am going to open it up to the panel of the commission for questions. Do you have any? Any questions or comments? Okay, Commissioner Solis Rainey has.
Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Mr. Lead or Mr. Is it McKinnon? McKenzie, I'm sorry. With respect to the escrow account, I wanted to just get clarification. My understanding was that an escrow account was not set up and that payments were being sent directly to Miss Wells starting in February of 2021 and continued to date. Is that correct?
With one caveat there, since the concern was brought at the Gaming Control Board and we advised an investigative agent on this matter, Ms. Wells has refunded the February payment. It was on a direct pay, and she's refunded that payment in lieu of hoping that these applications are transferred, or these applications are approved.
Can you take me back a little bit? I understand that you were already advising him back in October of 2021 when you actually reported to the board that transfers of funds had occurred. Is that correct as far as the timing?
That is correct, and the shares were not transferred, and so it was hinging on that. As for the family matter of settling an estate, those, as I use the term peace in the valley, to continue those payments with Mr. Lead and Leads Incorporated, understanding that there was a risk involved, that these were still subject to approval. So that is how it went down.
Okay. All right. I'm just concerned, especially since you were aware that those transfers should not have occurred. I'm troubled by the decision to continue them and by the decision to accept the risk, as you, I guess, explained during the board meeting and again today. That just isn't acceptable. I mean, you knew you were violating the regulation. And there's one thing, it's one thing when you make an inadvertent mistake, report it and take steps to correct it immediately. But to continue it for more than a year, it's been a little over a year. That's troublesome to me. So I just wanted to make sure that I was understanding the facts correctly.
And understood. And if I may,
maybe I can inject.
However you'd like to approach. I mean, who you'd like to hear from.
I'm happy to hear from either of you. I just want, again, it didn't seem clear from the board meeting that the understanding was there that you in fact, had not set up an escrow account, that the funds were being transferred directly. And not only that, but you continued to do that after you were aware that it was in violation of the NGC regulation. So if you'd like to add anything to that, I'm happy to hear it. But
If I may, I appreciate the question. In January of this year, it was pointed out that maybe that shouldn't occur and that next payment shouldn't have occurred, and that's why it's been backed out since that point in time. I don't know if the communication was as it should have been amongst us regarding the payments on that, and so it was an oversight. I don't think it was a thumbing of the nose. I really don't. But that's it is what it is.
And Mr. McKenzie, maybe I'm not understanding something properly, but I'm not just concerned about the January payment. I'm concerned about the payments from October of 2021, when you reported that the transfers had occurred without approval, and February of 2023, which is well over a year.
Understood. And it did occur. And I don't think it was a conscious decision to violate. It was something that was in the communication, and we were going to hold the stocks, keep the stock transfer from occurring. So thinking that would have addressed the issue. And obviously that was not the answer.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one follow-up from Commissioner Solis Rainey. So the record is clear, has all of the incorrect transfers directly been returned to escrow?
No, they have not.
Well, let's ask the next question then. Why have they not, in light of the investigations division bringing this to you and your client's attention?
I guess in terms of disrupting the apple cart, in terms of this is between family members, the settlement of an estate. I think broaching that question in terms of what could lead to it, and I think it would be if this application is denied, it would be unwinding, of course, and having to return at that time, and so that was how it was approached.
Have anything else?
I have nothing else.
Commissioner Krolicki?
This is one of those situations where there aren't good answers, and I think we need to accept that. I think a disciplined remedy would be more severe. This is a family trying to do estate planning purposes. You've had a death in the family, and again, we've all been in that spot, and we're sorry for your loss, but that doesn't excuse what happened. But I think denying an application in this situation is overly strong-handed. So I am comfortable to move forward with this. But again, I share my commissioner's feelings. I mean, there was screw up, need to make it right. Not sure how to do that, but let's just make you compliant as we're going forward, and lesson learned, and others who are watching.
So, I think the only thing I would add, when I was reviewing your materials and I saw that and I learned that there was a February payment, I wrote, wow, in my notes. Like, what? The problem I have is, quite frankly, while I echo Commissioner Krolicki's comments about the hardship and its family, and the situation is what it is. We can't just not make note of it and and indicate to you our concern, right? Because otherwise, then there's no point in any of these regulations if we just say, "Oh, that was really hard for you." We'll just, you get a pass. So even though I'm going to support this and I'm going to move forward and I'm going to accept all your explanations for this, I don't want you to leave here not thinking that there wasn't some extreme concerns of the commission members when particularly February. I'm glad you undid it though. That made me happy. At least it was a show of an effort to respect what we're doing here as regulators and what you're required to do. So, you don't want to be on my WOW list, tell you that. It's not a good place to be. So, I'm going to support a motion if it's made in your favor today. But I just want you to know that, okay? And we appreciate you appearing here today to answer hard questions.
Thank you.
So with that said, is there a motion?
Reluctantly, I would move for approval of of restricted agenda item number 2 is read into the record by Madam Secretary.
All right, any discussion on the motion?
I just wanted to reiterate, Commissioner Curley, I appreciate your comments with respect to, there being a death in the family in 2020. That's difficult for all of us. That doesn't, in my mind, excuse it. That excuses the delay and the confusion that you didn't have to notify the board because you were both already licensed. I give you a pass on that. I accept the explanation on that. I don't accept the explanation with respect to making a willful decision to violate the regulations because it was more convenient to handle the family matter in that respect. So I can't support the application for that reason. And, again, my concern is not just the February payment, it's the October to February payments that you have both, twice confirmed. You knew it was wrong. You did it anyways because it was a more convenient way to handle it. So I just can't support a willful violation. And for that reason, I can't support the motion.
Okay, any additional comments or discussion? All right, at this time, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Nay. Or, yeah.
Yes. Okay, so it goes without saying that, had it been one other vote in another direction, it wouldn't have been a good day for you necessarily. So I hope you keep that in mind going forward, and you're particularly mindful that the regulations apply, whether you have hardship or not, and whether it's convenient or not. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you
Yes,
very
thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So that brings us, I believe, to restricted number 3. All right, Madam Secretary, please read in restricted number 3.
Restricted number 3 is the application of GBA Capital LLC doing business as Mr. Suds Laundromat for a restricted gaming license. It is also the applications for registration of BJJ IQ Limited as a holding company and for finding of suitability of Ryan James Bernardino as a member and manager. Lastly, it is the applications of BJJ IQ Limited and Franklin On for licensure as a member and manager. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval with conditions as noted on the agenda.
Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and the commissioners. My name is Ryan Bernardino, and this is my partner, Franklin On. And we own Mr. Laundromat.
Yeah,
Sorry.
could you restart because there's probably no way our court reporter heard that, and if we didn't hear it.
Oh, good morning, Madam Chair and the commissioners. My name is Ryan Bernardino, and my partner, Franklin On. We are the owners of Mr. Suds Laundromat.
Good morning. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
So we have obviously your application and your we're privy to the investigation that was conducted. And so if you don't have an affirmative presentation, I will go ahead and open it up for questions unless you wish to make any statement.
We did have representation. However, she suddenly passed away a few weeks ago. We didn't have time to find new representation. So, but please feel free to ask any questions you may have.
Okay, well, at this time, I will open it up for questions. It's certainly unfortunate that that happened, but we appreciate you being here and trying to move forward on your own. Do you plan, I think this may have come up with you or maybe another one of her clients. It's the next one. Oh, we were talking about, I believe there's been some discussion as and other potential licensees or licensees have been asked if you intend to get new counsel to provide guidance as you're going forward with, all the rules that need to be followed and the regulations.
At this time, we did not plan on it only because it's our first time applying, so we don't know the process. However, though, we we have a contract with Shortline Gaming, and they've been generous enough to actually give some guidance on all the processes and so on and so forth.
Okay. Well, let me open it up for any questions that any of my colleagues have, starting with Commissioner Kralicki. I usually rotate back. Commissioner Solis Rainey.
Thank you, and thank you both for being here. And I appreciate that it's probably difficult to be here without your counsel. So I just had one quick question. Your, application disclosed a prior matter, and in looking over the explanation of the event, which I appreciate your candor in giving us that. I was just had a question. It didn't seem to address the hit and run portion of that incident. Was that just an oversight or?
I believe it must have been that I hit a vehicle as I
Yeah, you tried to
driving off.
avoid.
Correct. Yes. Yes. But it's been so long. I totally apologize. But yes, they did originally mark it as a hit and run, and all this offenses should have been on the report as well. But I've served all penalties and in time for that entire incident.
It is on the report, but it wasn't on your explanation. So I was just curious. Did you in fact leave the scene?
Yes, I did. Yes. I had a different statement, but I had to summarize it because it was too much in detail. But yes, I did back leave the scene because I was so flustered during that time, and I was obviously young and stupid, so I did not know what to do. I thought I was just trying to avoid an accident, but in fact that I did hit someone, and then yeah, I just stopped, and then I was arrested at that point.
So like 24, 25, is that, am I doing the math right? Were you 24 or 25-ish?
Yeah, 2006, I was 26 years old.
26, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, just for future reference, more information is better than less. When you're trying to explain something that requires you to explain, in this case, kind of the circumstances of maybe a bad act or something, in your past. It's been a long time, and
Right.
I'm happy to get past it, but I was concerned that you didn't address it and maybe didn't understand the severity of it, but it sounds like you do.
Yes, I totally apologize because, like I said, I originally had my original statement from before that was very lengthy, and then I was advised to alter it to make it more concise, and I was not aware that it was going to be an issue, but I do understand the severity of that situation. Back then, till this day, I'm still haunted by it because that was just one of the biggest mistakes of my life, and that will definitely never happen again.
Okay. Well, I appreciate, again, your candor, your explanation, and I accept the fact that it's been a long time and you've moved past it. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
Any additional questions or comments for either of them? Okay, well, we do appreciate you being here today and answering the questions. At this time, it would appear that the matter is ripe for a motion.
Madam Chair, I'm pleased to make a motion. For restricted agenda item number 3 is read by Madam Secretary and recommended for approval by the Gaming Control Board with the condition contained about the full-time attendance.
Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And there are none opposed. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Mr. Suds. It's a good name for one.
Okay, let's see. We have, Madam Secretary, please read in restricted number 4.
Restricted number 4 is the application of Champions Tavern LLC doing business as Aces East for a restricted gaming license. It is also the applications for registration of Alaman Gaming LLC as a holding company and for finding of suitability of Colton Norbert Alaman as member and manager. Lastly, it is the applications of Michael Goker, Colton Alaman, and Alaman Gaming LLC for licensure as a member and or manager. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval with conditions as noted on the agenda.
Good morning, still good morning.
Good morning. Dennis Gutwald with the law firm of McDonald Carano. With me is Michael Galper. Thank you for waiving the appearance of Colton Alaman. With your permission, I'll have Michael tell you a little bit about himself and then open it up for questions.
Thank you.
May I ask a question?
Sure, of course.
Chair. On our cover page, it lists the application as being one for a restricted gaming license and for the application of the Alaman Gaming LLC as a holding company and a finding of suitability of Mr. Colton Alaman for us last month. It doesn't list Mr. Gawker. Is that? I just want to make sure they both are coming forth for licensing, correct?
Yes,
As members and managers.
correct. His Alaman's company is going to be the member, and Mr. Galker is going to hold his membership individually.
I think what we're referring to is you wouldn't believe the numbers of listings of, I mean, it's mind blowing, quite frankly, in my view. We get agendas, we get investigation materials, we get, and so I think what we're talking about is the investigations page had a different reference, but I believe what was noticed and was proper, correct?
This looks correct to me.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't catch that.
And understand I got into this application a bit late because of the same reasons that the other people had with the leaving of a certain representative. So, but the title pages look good.
Okay.
No problem. And Mr. Colton Mr. Alaman was before us last month.
That's right.
On his own. So that's why I remembered that and I got myself confused. So thank you.
You're on top of it.
Okay, sir, please state your
Hello.
name for the record and then,
Mike Galford. Moved here in 1963 and went to school here, short stint in UNLV, and then I became a IBEW electrician, 5-year apprenticeship. Opened my own business about 37 years ago, and I've had a business since then. And ventured out a little bit to go into something else, raise 5 kids. Long-time resident.
well, thank you very much. It's nice to meet you. Even though you went to Western High School. That was my high school's nemesis, but that's okay. I'm not going to hold it against you.
There wasn't big choices when I went.
Well, I was a little bit later. All right, so at this time, I don't have any questions for you myself, but I'm going to open up to my colleagues to see if we have any questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And you have no issue complying with the condition about taking the regulatory compliance?
No.
Thank you.
I'm actually signed up for the one in June.
Mr. Gawker, thank you for being here with us today. You're going to be, for this location, you're going to be the primary operator. Is that correct?
Colton's going to be the
Colton
main
is?
and manager, but yes, we both.
Okay. How much time do you expect to spend at that location?
Not on a daily basis, but I'm there whenever we have concerns with it. And Colt and I talk all the time on what direction we're going to go and what we're going to do.
Okay. I believe the materials indicated that you have a manager at this location. So if you're not there and Mr. Alaman isn't there, there's still a manager on site?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have any questions about your background. It was very clean and I hold no grudges against Western.
I said my high school. I have no grudge. Commissioner
Nothing.
Cohen, anything?
Where'd you go?
Bishop Gorman.
Oh.
Here we go. Apparently the grudge is on his side.
No.
I tried to warn him.
Okay, well, we appreciate you being here today. I also support your application and am happy to support it. So at this point, we're just, I think, ripe for a motion.
I'd move for approval of restriction agenda item number 4 is read into the record by Madam Secretary.
Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And there are none opposed.
No, that's, and as recommended by the board, right, with the conditions for the.
Missed that? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so let me let's
Let me restate.
please. Just to be
The
sure.
restated motion, Sharid, move for approval of restricted agenda item number 4 is read into the record by Madam Secretary and as recommended for approval by the Gaming Control Board.
All right, and all in
That's
favor?
The condition.
That's included.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 There are none opposed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm being asked by our court reporter to take a brief recess before our employee registration appeal matter. So at this time, we'll take a 5-minute recess. We reconvene. Madam Secretary, if you could read in our next item.
Next for your consideration is one gaming employee registration appeal. That item is Mariana Lopez, case number 22 LV 05669.
Hello.
Morning. Morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and Madam Secretary. My name is Elva Castaneda. I'm here with the law firm of Kemper Krall, and next to me is Mariana Lopez. And with your permission, I would like to address, I would like to clarify some of the record in this matter in hopes that you would reconsider the decision.
Okay, well, just keep in mind, we're confined to the record below, so if you're going to offer new facts, we can't consider those.
Thank you. So in the board's recommendation from October of last year, in the discussion, there's a note of a pattern of fraudulent using of patrons' information and stealing licenses. That's in reference to two separate incidents that Ms. Lopez was involved in. The most recent one is from 2019. She paid a restitution. She took responsibility for her actions and has stayed out of trouble since then. The first one was from 2005. The record states that she was employed by Bally's, and at the time she was not. She was employed by MGM. She was a restaurant host. And she actually did not have a gaming card at the time. She didn't obtain a gaming card until 2007, and she was employed with Bally's. Then the gaming card was renewed again in 2017. That incident had nothing to do with a gaming card. I can give you some more details regarding that incident if you'd like. It's not part of the record.
Well, what I would suggest is that, you make your presentation to us. We're happy to hear from Ms. Lopez. There will be questions asked of you at the conclusion of whatever it is you wish to present, if any commissioners have any questions. And then there'll be a time for a motion and a discussion that's not subject to discussion with you, but subject to discussion among us. So, I'm not specifically telling you what to say or not say about past matters.
Okay.
I think that's up to you in representation of your client, but you may have questions about it regardless. So
Thank you, Madam Chair. The incident in 2005 involved Ms. Lopez purchasing something online with the use of her boyfriend's credit card at the time. With his permission, Ms. Lopez was very young and naive at the time. The man that she was dating was married, and his wife found out and reported the incident. This incident was disclosed to the board back in 2007 and again in 2017 when she obtained her gaming card. Both incidences really have nothing to do with each other. She's very apologetic for both of them. She has taken responsibility for both of them, but in no way does that characterize a pattern of fraudulent activity related to patrons. The most recent incident did involve the use of patron information. She paid her $335 restitution. And now today, Ms. Lopez has been offered her dream job at Resorts World. She started there as an assistant to the VP of marketing execs. They offered her this position back in September. As you can see, as part of the record, there's 4 letters of recommendation that were submitted on her behalf. Her future employers hopefully are very well aware of all of the incidents that she's been involved in, and nonetheless still hope to hire her. They've been holding this position for her since September. And I think that's a testament to her work ethic and her character. And based on those representations, I hope that you decide to change your prior decision, and Ms. Lopez would like to address you now.
Well, before we hear from Ms. Lopez, how can you elaborate a little bit on when you tell us the current the employers at Resorts World are very well aware. None of the letters that were given actually refer to anything specific. They're all very generic in support, more almost like a reference letter. And so, is this something that Ms. Lopez has told you, or you have personal knowledge of that, or could you elaborate on that, please?
Ms. Lopez told me that she has told her employers about both incidences. They both know that she has appealed the gaming card decision. They know about the first incident in 2005 and the most recent incident in 2019. She actually is still very well acquainted with them. She regularly speaks to them, and they are aware of all the entire situation.
Okay. Ms. Lopez, you wish to speak to us?
Thank you so much, Commissioners. Yes, indeed, I'm very much in contact with our VPs in Resorts World for the International Marketing Department. Just got off the phone right before I entered, wishing me good luck. I'm still being held my position in the International Marketing Department since I was let go in late September of last year. Still holding that position for me. The incident that happened in 2005, as Elba here mentioned to you, had nothing to do with this incident that happened. Bad decision that I chose to make while I was working at GVR.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Of course.
So you pled guilty to a gross misdemeanor and had a 9-month jail sentence suspended, and you said you had permission from your boyfriend, and that was
So
you didn't pursue.
I was 20
Sorry,
years
you
old.
didn't interrupt me.
No, I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
Thank
But
you.
the court reporter can't get two of us talking at once, otherwise she can't hear. So if you would let me finish, I'd
Thank you.
appreciate it. So you pled guilty to a gross misdemeanor, got a 9-month jail sentence suspended, and you were placed on a period of either informal or formal probation. And you had, from what your lawyer is saying and what you've said, a defense that you didn't put forward. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes.
So that was the question. Why didn't you at the time, as opposed to for the first time, apparently ever, years, if not a decade plus later?
Yes. Thank you. And I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize.
Okay.
I was 20 years old when I started dating a specific person. There was no social media back then. There was nothing as far as getting to know someone. And so this person I was dating was in the military, didn't live in the same state, apparently. And I didn't know much about him. Later on, I continued to date him on and off. I find out that he's married afterwards, after a police officer came to my house to look through my IP address and matches the credit card name.
Can I redirect you for a second?
Correct.
My question was, why didn't you pursue that defense that you had, once you got a lawyer, because you had a lawyer, right?
Yes.
And you were charged with a felony.
Yes.
Okay. You had a defense, which is I had permission given by somebody else to use the card. I really, others might have questions about the nature of the whole thing. I just want to know, why didn't you put forward that information to the court system, to your attorney, that kind of thing? That's what I'm asking. If you could focus on that just for time purposes.
Because I had barely given birth to my first baby. She was very ill when she was born. And I was trying to recover a relationship with my husband at the time. And it was a very, very embarrassing for me. It was an experience that I don't wish upon anyone. And I just wanted it over with. I wanted it over with. I wanted to move on. I wanted to be a mom.
Okay. Okay, so you were, I think when I asked that question, you were talking about the differences between that circumstance and what you were ultimately charged with and pled guilty to in 2019. So please continue.
Yes. So at this particular place where I was working, it was just a casino. I was a regular hostess, come and sit you down to your table sort of deal. I didn't have a gaming card. I didn't steal from the hotel. I didn't steal from anyone. Those items were never given to me. Those items were ordered and sent to, at that time, the person I was dating's address. I never got a hold of the items. This incident is completely different. this incident, I chose to write up food and beverage comps and use them to myself under someone else's plate. It was about $300 and something. When I was questioned from it, my immediate response was to panic, obviously. Uh, didn't know what to say other than, I don't know what you're talking about, and pretty much hung up the phone. Um, and then later on, I found out a warrant out for my arrest, took care of it, admitted to my guilt. I pay restitution. I was very upfront with my employers at Resorts World, and I haven't had anything ever since.
Okay, well, we have the record below. We also have your transcript from your hearing before the board, and I think I can say with confidence that it's likely that every one of us read the hearing transcript, correct? So we have what you said at the time of the hearing. We also will take into account everything that you and your attorney have said here today.
Yes.
And if you're ready and you're completed with your presentation, then I will open it up for questions.
Thank you. I am.
Okay.
I'm putting aside what happened early on with the credit cards. It happened, you pled, and a significant period of time has passed. I'm not giving you a pass on the behavior or what happened, because as Chair Tagliati just said, if you truly weren't guilty and you had an attorney, you raised it. But let's put that aside. August of 2019. Unfortunately, you've checked two boxes that at least, we as regulators take very, 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 we can't embrace that conduct. We can't condone that conduct. We can't excuse that conduct. What you did, and and the video shows, you went ahead and took comps that were unused and used them for yourself. That is a clear violation of gaming policy, of law, and there's nothing that just justifies it. Nothing. You could say, I'm sorry, and but we have to uphold the integrity of the game, the integrity of the system that protects the games. And there's no way, that unfortunately, and I'm sure you're sorry. I have no doubt you're sorry. I have no doubt that your counsel is going to say that. But again, I cannot condone what happened. Not enough time has passed to allow me to go ahead and do anything to reverse or upset the recommendation below.
Do you have any questions for Ms. Lopez before we?
If I might, Madam Chair, thank you for being here today. This is not an easy experience to endure, and good on you for getting in there and trying to make your statement. Now, I'm the only non-attorney here, so I look at these things differently. Not differently, but without that training. I want to be consistent. I've been in government for some time. I've never been a regulator. I do have sympathy, and I think I share the opinions of some of the folks here, some of the commissioners, about things that happened a long time ago. And to be consistent, we've had discussions today about things and people who were applying that had youthful indiscretions, and I think we did give them, for the most part, a pass. The more recent, just as Commissioner Cohen has said, is most troubling. I mean, it's not that long ago, and transcripts, everyone does it, or I'm just not sure if that's really good enough. Chair Tagliati asked you about the Resorts World, and again, great on you for having people having your back. And forgive me for asking this question, and maybe the control board folks can help here, but not one of the 4 letters or email actually addressed the Gaming Control Board, and none of them referenced the fact that you're here because of these past actions. They are like letters of references. So I heard it was represented to you by Ms. Lopez that they're fully aware, but I'm not sure that I know that they're aware of this. Can you address that, please?
Yes, of course. They are aware of it. Only my VP is aware of the 2005 incident. Like I said, it's a very shameful thing for me to even talk about. But they are aware of what happened in GVR. They know the reasons why I left. And when I was hired, before I was hired at Resorts World, I explained to them what had happened. I explained to them what I did, and I explained to them that I would never do it again, and I never thought I would get the chance to become a casino host again.
I hear your words. I just wish there was more explicit documentation. The fact that they are, I'm, I'm believing you, but the paper trail could have made this easier. But I still go back on the timing. 2019, it's truly not that long ago. Your actions took place inside, the gaming resort. And so I'll reserve my statement for later, but I'm greatly troubled by your application with Rescue Commission.
Do you have any questions for Ms. Lopez?
I had just one question with respect to your position at Green Valley Ranch. Did you resign from that position or were you let go?
I resigned.
When they found out about the conduct of you taking comms, what was their response to that?
I never really got to speak to anyone. When they brought me into the office to talk to me, they suspended me pending investigation without telling me why. The same weekend, my father passed away. This happened on a Thursday. My father passed away on a Sunday. On Monday, I get a call from Human Resources, from HR, and I knew what I've done. So I knew what it was about, and it could have only been one thing. So I submitted my resignation that Monday to my VP at the time, Francine Mazzella.
Okay. I was just curious because yeah, on your gaming application summary, it indicated that you resigned, but obviously you knew that they had found out what you had done and you would probably be terminated.
That is correct. Yes.
I don't have any other questions.
Any additional questions for Ms. Lopez or her counsel? There being none, this is now, I think, the time that it's been submitted for someone to move to have a decision or make a motion. So I'll open it up for anyone who wishes to make a motion. I will simply say that, when you had the gross misdemeanor and you came for a license or for the gaming card, they gave you a pass then. As far as I'm concerned, with this case, it's not like there's one decision. It's a 5 or 6 day window where there's 6 comps being taken. Every single time you go get something with one of them, you're making a decision to steal, to steal, to steal, to steal. It's not as simple as, it's not who I am. I appreciate everything that you have to go through to come here to talk to us about these things, but what kind of message does it send when you get a pass on a gross misdemeanor? You get to go work in a casino, which is a privilege, right? And there are people who would kill to have these jobs, right? And you got a pass on a gross misdemeanor with a 9-month suspended sentence, a complete pass, and you got to have the job because they listened to what you said. Oh, boyfriend, I'm sure you made those statements at the time when you were contacted by the investigator. But, fool me once, shame on you. Fool us twice, shame on us. And I have a real problem with that. You repeatedly, throughout a several-day period, made decisions over and over and over to take. And that is a big problem. And it sends the wrong message if you get another pass, in my opinion. Now, does that mean that you can't, with the passage of time, that there's no forgiveness in the world? No, but it's not today for me because it sends the wrong message to people. And for me, I can't have that. So for me, I know where this is headed, but I don't want you to think that that it's forever because, I think if you prove yourself I believe you were in the, in the renting management company business. And you obviously have the personality and the work commitment to really impress and dazzle people. My guess is you'll be back, and but for now, it's not just about you. It's about the system and what these regulations stand for, and what our kind of litmus test is going to be. For me, you don't pass it today, okay? So that's just my.
I'm prepared to make a motion, but before I do, I just want to say I share Chair Tagliati's statements. You know, you need to keep, your record clean. You'll be able to come back before, this tribunal, after a year. But nevertheless, there's no way I can condone what happened. So as such, I move to sustain the Nevada Gaming Control Board's objection to Ms. Lopez's registration as a gaming employee.
Any discussion on the motion?
Yes, I just wanted to add a couple things to the chair's comments. Not only was the conduct over a course of days, but then when you were basically caught, you lied about it until you were confronted with the fact of surveillance. You're not 18, 20 years old anymore. I also wanted to just note for the record that, and I don't know if you're aware, but when these proceedings happened in the past, we maintain a record. So looking back at the record of when you came before, when you were asked about the 2005 incident, at that time you admitted that you had taken the credit card from the restaurant and placed the order. So for you to now come back and give us a different story, just to me is not credible. Your own inconsistency is problematic to me. And although, again, I mean, that was a long time ago, and had that been the only incident, maybe now 10, 12 years later, I would be fine giving it a pass. But because you're still giving us a different version of something that happened so long ago without really acknowledging your role, I have a problem with that, and I can't support your application.
Any additional comments? All right, there's a motion that's been made. There being no more discussion, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Are there any nays? There are no nays. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, you can come back in a year. Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is administrative reports. If we could start with our new board chair, Chair Hendrick.
Thank you, Chair Tagliati. Kirk Hendrick for the record. Really, the only report we have is regarding the meeting for next month. Give you a little roadmap on that. We're looking at a one-day meeting on Wednesday, the 8th. For purposes of efficiency, we're looking at a little bit of an out of the ordinary order. We're going to try to take the 12 restricted items first in the morning. Then we'll take the non-restricted items 1 through 6, again, trying to get that done in the morning before a lunch break. And then we're going to take items non-restricted 7 through 9 in the afternoon. Again, trying to just be as efficient as possible, not having a lot of restricted people waiting in the audience for us to go through 4 or 5 hours. So we're going to try that out next month.
You're making me feel pressure.
Thank you.
Maybe I need to. Although we rely on you to have the really long meetings so that our meetings can be a lot shorter.
Well, yours is pretty good. 5 minutes after noon. That's a good meeting.
Thank you. Okay, anything from our AGs today?
Nothing today, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So, Madam Secretary, if we could close our last agenda item with public comments.
This item is placed on the agenda to give the public an opportunity to comment on gaming-related matters.
Okay, I'm first going to go to Carson City, where there was no one there before to make public comment, and there is no one present now to make public comment. Also, it appears that there is no one present in Las Vegas to make public comment. So at this time.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, of course.
A commissioner comment under public comment. I just want to say thank you for the warm welcome I've received. I'm grateful for the appointment from Governor Lombardo. It's very nice to be back in meaningful important public service. Now, I haven't walked into this building for 9 years. I still kind of know my way around, but the second floor was always off limits. I don't know why. It was, mysterious gaming control board folks. But I thought I had retired from state service. I'm compelled to come back, and I'm just delighted with the opportunity. But the welcome, from the Gaming Control Board folks who I've had the chance now to spend some quality time with, folks in Carson City, Madam Secretary, you've been exquisite. Jose, thank you, and the folks from the Attorney General's office. I think my paper trail has made life difficult for some folks on this floor, and my apologies. We'll take care of that at some point. But again, it couldn't have been any better well done, from all of you to me. Hopefully I will accept all the advice and lessons and the stacks of binders that have, weighed down my house. Thank you for that, Miss Nicole. But again, it's a pleasure to be here serving with my knowledge on the commission. Thank you for the warm welcome.
Glad to have you. Thank you very much. And by the way, there's a shred bin. You're never expected to you come with them, but you don't leave with them. All right. So that will close our public comment section, and this concludes our Nevada Gaming Commission meeting for the month of February. We are adjourned. Thank you.